You're joining the Loudr Lawyer Network, the podcast where we sit down with the law firm owners, attorneys, and visionaries that are making the most noise in the legal landscape nationwide to find out the secrets to their success. Other podcasts think they're getting loud, but we're getting louder. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Loudr Lawyer Network, where we help attorneys scale to million-dollar months through powerful strategies and connections. And this morning, I'm honored to welcome Brad Parker from the Parker Law Firm. Brad, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on.
Oh man, I appreciate you being here. Now, Brad, I always my moments here with Loudr Lawyer, being a storyteller and looking at just how we as humans, how we arrive at our careers and things that we're called to do. Take us back before you ever thought about being an attorney and how that journey came about.
Well, I decided to be a lawyer pretty young in my life. I think I was in 6th or 7th grade. My parents had divorced, and we moved out from Lubbock, where I was originally from, and moved to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Carrollton Farmers Branch area, North Dallas area, and went to high school. And I was pretty much a little rebel at the time, and walking on a path that probably would not have led me very well in life, quite frankly. And I decided that, I don't know how come, but I decided, well, let me back up. I took a job when I was in 7th grade inserting newspapers. You put section B into section A, and I would skip school on every Wednesday to go do that. Finally, they noticed that after 14 Wednesdays in a row being absent, they figured it out. But during that process, I cut my finger and it cut a tendon and had to go through the workers' comp process. And we got tooled around really, really bad, and I just didn't like it. And then my rebel side of me as well was kind of knocking heads with the school, the cops a little bit. And I thought, there's two ways to fight somebody, and that's from afar or within or without, within the system or outside the system. And
hold on a second, not to interrupt your story. How old are you when you do the workman's comp and these things are happening?
7th grade.
Wow. Okay, continue. Wow.
Well, it was a different life, but so I decided early on that I want to fight from within instead of trying to knock the fence in, hold it, and let's clean house from the inside instead of rather outside. Might be more effective, and law just seemed to be the natural thing for me. And I remember my classmates thinking, "You're out of your mind. You'll never be a lawyer." And I think that helped fuel me even a little bit more. But I made that decision and I stuck with it. And that's where I always intended to be a lawyer. I didn't really know what kind of lawyer at the time. Nobody, I think, really does. But as I continued on through school, I knew too that by the time I got to high school, it was pretty evident that if I stayed in high school very much longer, it was not going to be a good outcome. And so I started going to summer school and got enough credits so I could graduate a full year early. And I took off a year between, and that was the best thing I ever did. I was running with a tough crowd, and it was great that I got out and away from those people to some degree. I mean, some of them great people, but some of the people I was running around with, not so great. And so I took off for a year and then got back into college and went after it.
So in today's world, I mean, my son, I have a son that's in college right now, and after high school, just playing sports and everything, because he got caught up in the whole pandemic, took what's known as a gap year. So you had a gap year to where you were able to figure out some things, work, and do something. You talked about being a rebel. Can you go a little bit into that about being a rebel? And it shows early on you had discernment and had a sense of wisdom to understand the path in which you were walking.
Well, I was a hippie. I grew up I graduated from high school in 1977. I had, long hair down below my shoulders. I was on the fringe, but it was it was a fun time, but it was a wild time. And I just, for something, I can't tell you why, but I knew that I didn't want to go through life like I was going down that path. Let's take a sharp, hard right turn. And that year that I took off mainly was just to get some mild oats. I bought a truck, put a camper on it, and just drove around the countryside. And my dad is a journeyman electrician out of Lubbock, Texas, and I always went back home and worked for him during the summers. So by the time I was 17 or 18, I had my journeyman electrician's license. So when I was traveling that year out, I could stop somewhere and work a week or two as an apprentice and make a couple of bucks and gas up the truck and move on down somewhere else. And that was fine. I don't think my dad thought I was coming back. And
Wow.
I think everybody kind of doubted me to some degree, whether I would go on with the plan or not. And I never had any doubt.
That's beautiful. So you're out on the road, seeing the countryside. I'm sure you learned all types of things being out there on your own and your encounters with life. When in that year that you took off, was it always that you were going to go to school, or did
yeah, no, I had no question about it. I was going to start school in the fall. I graduated in May, and so I took off that year, and I knew I was going to start the fall of the following year. Year and 3 months later, I'd be starting, and I applied. I got in at Tech and Texas Tech. Some people call it Harvard on the Plains, but we call it Texas Tech. Anyway,
so it means you had the grades. You had the grades, man, to get into school.
Well, I did. And then when my first year at Tech, I was blowing it out the roof. I think I had a 3.9 on a 4.0 scale, and I said, you know what? I think I want to go to Austin and go to school. So I got into UT, and that
UT, the Longhorns.
Oh man, I tell you what, for a long-haired kid out of Lubbock, Texas, to go down in Austin, I knew I was in the right place. I was standing on the drag one day when I was down there. I didn't know a soul. And I found a little beer joint, and I went into the beer joint. Of course, back then, all you had to be was 18 to have a beer. It wasn't 21. And I was sitting there having a beer, looking out the street and seeing all these co-eds and Austin, Texas. The vibe was Austin, Texas.
Austin.
And I said, man, I found the right spot for me. This is going to be fun. And so, and I was managed to get out of there 3 years later, but I didn't maintain that 3.9. It slipped a little bit, but it was still good enough to get into law school. So,
hey, you know what the theme I'm kind of seeing with you right now. You finished college early, right?
No, I went 4 years to college. First year at Tech, and then 3 years at UT.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nah, that's wonderful. So what was your major in college?
Oh, it was government. Something you could do nothing with. You either go to law school or you teach school. I was government. If I had to do it over again, though, I think I would have gotten a business degree. That's probably an educational regret that I have, is that I did not go into business, learn more about business than I did. It's a miracle that I've been able to run a law firm, without more. Since I've been in business for myself over the last decades, I've had to concentrate and learn business more. And that's certainly not something they teach you in law school at all. And I am kind of a lone wolf type person. I mean, I get along great in crowds and company and stuff, but I operate alone a lot. And I have attorneys that work for me, but I knew I could never live in a law firm with 50 partners. I started out that way, and it just was not a great fit. I mean, it was nice. The camaraderie was nice, but I like to not only row the boat, but point it in the right direction where I want it to go.
Right.
And, so I realized that the only way I was ever going to be able to do that was break out on my own.
Right. I came across, you don't mind me, I came across a quote that influenced you. You remember what that quote was?
Well, is it Martin Luther King's quote?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir.
Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere.
Yeah, I found that when I found that out about you, I was like, this is a man who looks way beyond himself. And with you saying being a lone wolf, you use the term the lone wolf. being able to point things in the direction you want to go. Not so much a person that really follows the herd, more or less leads the herd. Leadership. I found your leadership happened early in your life.
Well, it did, and I am motivated to help other people. I mean, that's why I really got in the law. I had to have a reason to fight, and the fight was to help other people who aren't as fortunate as I am in many respects. And that's what's been so great about the plaintiff's practice is that I cannot stand insurance companies and big corporations just pounding on people because they're helpless. They don't know what to do. And so much of our business too is cases that we never take. I mean, we only take about 10% of the cases that come through the door, but oftentimes people just need guidance. They just need an answer. They just need to know, which way do I go? How do I do this? And, that's what we try to do. Even if we can't take your case, we always want to help people find the right path for them, the best way. And if I can't help them, maybe they can help themselves, or maybe we can get them into a different kind of lawyer. But, one of the things I'm most proud of with my office is that if you go on and read our Google reviews on the website or wherever they exist, on me, you'll see that the majority of them are from people that we didn't even represent. They are from people who we talked to, who we had a relationship with in one form or another. And they're just saying, thank you for helping us. Even though you didn't take our case, we want to say thank you for helping us and getting us in the right direction. It meant a lot. And so I'm really proud of that and of my staff for being able to communicate and help that way. I like to think I've trained them up, but we also found some really caring people that work here and work with me. And they have the same philosophy. I mean, we want to help people. And if we can stamp on the neck of a corporation or insurance company along the way, so better.
So Brad, I hear you've built the Parker Law Firm. Tell me about, what was the first case, if you can remember, what got you to go in the direction of personal injury law? Were you in any other kind of law before that?
Yeah, I was a litigator. I was a big firm litigator. What that really means, I think, is that you just push paper. And I remember we would actually, me and a buddy of mine at the time with the big firm I was with, decided we were going to start trying some cases. And we'd just pick up some and try to go down there and try these cases. And people thought we were crazy. But it became obvious that working for bankers and stuff wasn't my cup of tea. They really, you're the hard help to them, and you're just their employee. You're their means to an end. And so I got a taste. We broke up, and I first got a taste of a plaintiff's law when I went out. And I guess there was the most impactful case. I'd been practicing on my own or with a smaller firm doing PI for 5 or 6 years at the time, but it was a sexual exploitation case. We sued a Methodist minister here in town who for years and years and years had counseled women who were going through divorces or depression or whatever, and he would sexually exploit them. And most of the women would leave the office of this very high profile, influential Methodist minister here in Fort Worth and think, did that really happen? Did what just happen? Or am I just making this up? Or who in the world would ever believe me? But once we got involved in the case and it became a little bit more public, women were coming out of everywhere saying that they'd had the same experience, and being able to help those women seek some justice was extremely beneficial, and or not beneficial, but it was extremely satisfying to me to know that we were able to make a difference and to hold this son of a gun accountable. And that was huge. And of course, there've been a whole host of other cases along the way where people are truly, truly hurt. And even the ones that they're not significant, they're hurt. A mild brain injury is the one that you've got, not me. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's always something. But even people who break an arm, and it heals. They still went through a lot because of the broken arm, because somebody wasn't paying attention where they drove and ran through a stop sign. I mean, they can't be held accountable. And what normally has been the case is the people that hit them are extremely sorry, but the insurance companies are just going to do anything and everything to minimize those damages and pay as little as possible. And I get great satisfaction out of making them pay for it.
Mm. You know what I liked about your firm on your website, and I'm gonna let you go ahead and say your slogan.
The attorneys you want, but hope you never need.
Man, that right there, that speaks volumes. To go back to what you were saying about exposing the individual or getting justice for the women who had been manipulated and taken advantage of in a position that he was given, you were that light that went in there and exposed that darkness. God,
yeah, we did.
He had you in the perfect place at that time to go in and bring justice for those women. So I'm grateful for that, man.
Well, it was a heck of an experience, and you know, obviously, didn't do it alone. My mentor helped me. It's crazy way how I got even involved in the case. I won't bore you with that now, but I do want to help people. But I came up with that little moniker because I see people at not at their worst, but at their worst times. You know, something's really gone bad in their life to have to call me to get some accountability or compensation for the wrong that they've incurred. And I never want to have to meet somebody because they're my client. I'm grateful that they come to me when they have a problem and that they become my client. But I would have much rather met them anywhere else for any other reason than have to help them through this thing. But I'm glad that they entrusted their problems with me, and I do my very best to help them get through it.
Man, that is beautiful, because I was going to ask you, when did you stop trying to become a lawyer and just start becoming Brad Parker? And you just answered that.
Yeah.
Before I even asked the question.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you have to stop thinking about being a lawyer sometimes. I love being a lawyer. It is truly, truly satisfying, and the power you have as a lawyer is really substantial. I mean, when you think about it, I have the ability to subpoena people. I have a subpoena power. I can force people to sit down across from me, raise their right hand, and if they think they're going to come in here and BS me or lie to me, they have another thing coming, because I know the case very, very well by the time you sit down across from me. And that's very satisfying to catch people and make them see how silly they're being or how stupid they are. And but at the same time, you see sometimes, and you don't see it as much anymore, or at least I don't, of people abusing their role as a lawyer. There was a time, I think, especially in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, where there were some lawyers who, and there still are, but they're just abusive for the sake of being abusive. And they're really nothing but big bullies with a bar card. And that's so wrong. And it's very nice to be able to try to put them back in their place and move forward with helping the client.
Right. You know what I find, you know, there's a lot of good reviews on you, but what's more important is what your own peers say about you. You know, I found everything from Brad as a talented lawyer and a great person in general, calm demeanor. These are some of the things that describe you. Brad is one of the best lawyers and the best people you'll ever meet. These are from your peers and your fellow lawyers and stuff. Some of the things that I saw, I won't mention names or anything, but just the description of who you are, your character, which goes into the leadership. Aren't you the president of, or the former president of an association?
Well, yeah, I've been, a lot of, but I guess one of the things two things I've really enjoyed. I was president of the Texas Trial Lawyers Association, and that was a very satisfying and humbling position to have. What the legislature tries to do through tort reform is obscene, and half of the people that are doing it don't even understand it. They're believing the lie. And so it was really exciting to be able to lobby for a few years and go over and talk to legislators and try to I don't want to say educate, but to help them understand the legislation that they may be carrying or were supporting, and why it may not be such a good ideal, and what some of the unintended consequences are. Unfortunately, you learn very quick that they don't care. A lot of them don't care. It's all politics, and somebody's paying them more money than somebody else, and so they're going to go with that. But no, that was very, very satisfying. And then I've also been the president of our local chamber of commerce, and which is ironic because the chamber was one of the biggest tort reform proponents. but that was fun. It became a time where I thought, I have been involved in leadership positions with so many bar associations, the Tarrant County Bar, the local trial lawyers, the state trial lawyers, the foundations and stuff. And so I wanted to do something different and without lawyers involved, and meet regular people other than my clients. And because you get in your profession and all you see are the other professionals in your profession. And so it's been really rewarding to meet small business owners and people just living everyday life, and kind of understanding more about what motivates them. And we're all the same. The bottom line,
I say that we're all God's children. How does one get? Do your peers put you into that leadership role? How did you get appointed to those? You have over 40 years of experience in law.
It doesn't look a day over 60 though, does it?
Man. Hey, you know what's funny? Hey, I'm 61.
Well, I got you beat.
Yeah,
I'm 66.
I'm 61. So, and you're wearing it well, Brad. Here's
thanks.
You're wearing it well, family.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I guess I kind of naturally gravitated to those positions, but obviously my peers agreed with it, or I wouldn't have been able to progress and succeed like I have been able to. It's just something that kind of has come natural. I didn't really wake up one day and go, I want to be the president of the Texas Trial Lawyers Association. I just got involved, and all of a sudden, it was asked, would you like this position? Do you think you would like to work into this position? And it's like, wow, that's wow, that's crazy. Me? Are you sure you didn't get my name mixed up with somebody else?
Which leads me to this part where I told you before the cast that I do the acronym with people's names. And I can't wait to
hear this.
What I came up with for Brad. So B, built through blue collar grit, from electrician to an elite trial lawyer. R is for the relentless in the pursuit of justice. A is for authentic leadership. And then the D is for driven with purpose.
I like it. That's very nice. Thank you.
Yes. And it says you're a person that's not about chasing volume, but you focus deeply on what you believe in and believing in people. I also saw that you're a part of, or you support the MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, sure have. Got involved with them several years ago, and it's been a good connection. We don't
what
do
led
as
you
much.
To that?
I'm sorry.
What led you to become part of MAD?
It was crazy. I had a case out in Lubbock, Texas, that I got called on, and I ran into and met a woman who was the crime victims assistant for the Lubbock County District Attorney's Office. And she called me one day and said, hey, listen, I've got a case where this young woman was horribly injured in a drunk driving accident, a drunk in the middle of the day. I won't bother you with facts. But anyway, would you take a look at this case? And I did, and we represented her and got her a nice recovery. But through that process, I met MAD, and because they were involved in the Crime Victims Assistance Program with most DA's offices. And so we just started talking to them, and their local MAD office had some opportunities to help sponsor some things and give some talks. And just the fact that I was doing what we call dram shop cases, suing alcohol establishments for over serving their patrons. It was kind of a natural fit. And so that's kind of how I got involved with it.
That's beautiful, man. I also saw that I know with your firm, you represent everything from slip and falls, trucking accidents, malpractice, all of those things. But what I found, and there's only one other lawyer that's been on this show that has went out and did. You went out and found out everything about trucking, and got you a certificate for driving a truck. You could go out there and drive an 18-wheeler right now.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to go that far, but yeah. Hey, listen, I could drive it forward. I doubt I could back it up.
But to learn, people don't understand that it's just not passing a license and being able to drive. There's so many intricate parts that you have to do before and after driving a truck.
Yeah,
and
no, it was a phenomenal experience. Went up to Billings, Montana, and spent a week out there, and just kind of got to know the nuts and bolts of it. But it was extremely interesting, and it gave you a perspective that a lot of people don't otherwise have unless they've driven a truck.
Did you go out and do that so you could better understand cases? I'm sure you
absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely, yeah. I had no desire to become a truck driver, although some days in the law business I would prefer doing that, I think. But no, it was a way to further educate. You know, that's the thing that I've always wanted to be, is the very best trial lawyer that I humanly possibly can be. And in order to do that, you've got to continually learn. You've got to continually push yourself. You've got to continually work. It's not easy work being a trial lawyer, and you have an opportunity to learn. And that's one of the things that I've enjoyed most, is that you get to learn so much about everything else. I mean, if it's a product liability claim, you get to learn about that product, that industry. If it's a slip and fall claim, you learn about that business, that part of the thing. If it's a trucking claim, you know, the hiring, how people hire, why they hire, what the regulations are. There's so much that goes into these things, and see the inside, pull the curtain back on how these businesses are operating, because so many times people think, oh, they're looking out for our safety. They're doing the best they can. No, they're not. No, they're not. I mean, a lot of businesses are, don't get me wrong, but there's those businesses out there that are about nothing but the mighty dollar, and they can save some pennies or dollars by not doing something that allows a nuisance or a public harm to exist. Well, you got to find out about it. And it's interesting to learn and expose that so it doesn't happen more.
Right. Let me ask you a question. You come from the field of being a trial lawyer, litigation, and things of that nature. Now that you're in personal injury, do you find that you have cases that settle without going to court, or do you find yourself in the courtroom trying to win for your client?
Over 90% of my cases settle, and I wish fewer of them. Yes and no. I wish sometimes they wouldn't settle, because I really would like to go to court and find out. But as a good lawyer friend of mine says, there's nothing wrong with settlement, because your client gets their money and they have no appeal. And that's so true. I mean, litigation is such an unknown issue. You never know what a jury's going to do. You never know. And then what's even more scary is you don't know what the Court of Appeals are going to do. Although in Texas, if you win as a plaintiff's lawyer and you win very much, I could tell you exactly what the appeals courts are going to do. They're going to find a way to take it away from you. So, but no, I love trying cases. I've enjoyed it. I love being in the courtroom.
Yeah, I asked you that question because I'm sitting here listening to you, and you like to fight. You like justice.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, and it's like you won't back down from anything, and that I can see that in your eyes, and that's a beautiful thing, because you're coming from a place of truth. You know what I mean?
Well, Certainly firm belief. Absolutely. I firmly believe in the clients I have. I firmly believe in the humanity of the clients. I firmly believe in the accountability of the defendants. Uh, I love the camaraderie of the profession. I love playing by rules, but getting to walk up and present evidence and talk. And I love everything about it. I really do. And that's probably why they'll probably find me dead behind my desk someday, but I have no intention of slowing down. I'm sick, like I said a minute ago, I'm 66 and everybody asks me all the time, when are you going to retire? When are you going to retire? I'm going, I got no intention of retiring.
Man.
I don't want to run as hard maybe, but I have no intention of retiring.
Hey, when you mentioned my dad's in Georgia, in Marietta, Georgia. He's a physician, but he's also in mental health and substance abuse. He works in that field, and he's went out and got every degree that is needed for him to be able to treat his clients in that world. And he's 81 years old and just like you, just going strong, man, just going strong.
Well, I don't know what I would do all day if I didn't have this to do.
Right.
There's so much golf you can play.
That's what I was going to ask you. I have a part here that called the rapid fire. Best advice you've ever received?
Stop talking and listen.
Biggest mistake as a young lawyer?
Wow. There's been so many of them, but the
Good
biggest
answer.
Yeah, there's been a ton, and if you don't make mistakes, you're not learning. And I've made plenty of mistakes, and I've tried to learn from every single one of them.
What makes you nervous before a trial?
The unknown. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I don't know what the jury's going to do. I get the jitters even today. If I walk in, not if I'm having a hearing, but if I'm going to trial. I always have the little bit of jitters, but I feel comfortable in my shoes. But nothing really scares me or makes me too nervous. Obviously, there are things in a case, certain facts or certain legal issues that make me nervous. But as far as just going in there, at this point in my life, it is like worst they can do is pour me out, and I'm going to make it very, very hard for them to do that.
So what's a habit that no one knows that you do before you're preparing, before you're going into trial?
Well, if I told you, everybody would know.
I mean, do you have like a type of music you listen to gear yourself up, like a player before a game? They got their headphones on, they're in a zone.
I just kind of like some downtime. I like to just sit back and think, but I do listen to music very, very loud, and it's probably going to come back to haunt me someday. But music motivates me very, very much.
If you weren't a lawyer, what career would you have pursued?
I've tried to think of that a million times. I ultimately, as I mentioned earlier, had my journeyman electrician's card, and for the first several years, I kept it, thinking, with this law thing doesn't work out, I could be an electrician. But then I thought, no, that's one of the reasons I'm not an electrician, because there's no way. But, I don't know what I would really want to do. I can't imagine doing anything else. And I don't know if that's lack of imagination or just a whole lot of love and dedication to what I do. It would be very hard. Maybe, maybe a fighter pilot or something, but no, I don't know.
Love and dedication was a beautiful answer. Favorite Texas town?
Well, that'd probably be it's Austin, Texas. I love Austin. But Fort Worth is such a wonderful place too. I think the reason that Austin is so great is because I don't live there and I can go visit.
You can go and visit. It's like going to Vegas. You can go there and visit, but you don't have to stay there. You can always come back.
Right. And it's the live capital music of the world, I think. And I love live music.
Right. South by Southwest, right?
Yeah.
Golf or the courtroom?
I would That's those two things are so different. I find so much satisfaction in the courtroom. I just can't tell you how fun when I walk out, even out of hearings, when I walk out of the courthouse, I have a high, just a natural high that is hard to explain. But man, I do love playing golf. But I like the courtroom. Getting there, working, preparing is not nearly as fun as being there.
One book every young attorney should read.
Running with the Bulls.
Okay.
I'm reading that again right now, and it is still fantastic. And the second book, if you're going into business, read Traction. You need to learn how to build a business, and you need to read Traction.
Traction.
Yeah,
I'm writing that down right there.
It's a great book.
Who wrote Tractions?
I was looking for my copy of it. I can't remember right off the top of my head. Of course, you asked me that. I don't want to go away, but I can tell you afterwards. But if you just pull up Traction, it's really about a business operating system, and it's gold. If you were like me, no business experience, and then trying to come out and run your own business, it really makes you focus on business aspects that will help you succeed.
And on my last question for you on rapid fire is one habit that's made the biggest difference in your career.
Waking up early and working late. Waking up early. I think, I know that sounds silly, but I find more
doesn't sound silly
done than anything. Waking up early is just fantastic. And don't forget to spend time for yourself and your family. We get so wrapped up in this. I raised two girls. I unfortunately got divorced, and my girls lived with me, and I raised them practicing law, starting the business, and that was a challenge. But golly, it's just spending time with family is very important.
No, absolutely. If a young lawyer or the younger you was to walk into your office, or you look back at your younger self, you can answer this either way. Knowing everything that you know now today, what would you tell your younger self, or what would you tell that young attorney that's walking into your office?
Master the craft. If you really want to be a trial lawyer, you got to master the craft. You got to get into everything you possibly can, learn as much, read the books, go to the seminars, practice the craft. It's a wonderful, wonderful craft, but it doesn't come natural, and it comes easier to some than others. But if you're just looking for a 9-to-5 job and moving cases, you're never going to be a great trial lawyer. I mean, you'll be okay. You'll make a nice living, but you're not going to be something that people fear or look at and think, man, he's a good trial lawyer. He's on the spot. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes dedication. It takes a lot of hours. But if that's what you want to do, that's what you got to do. There is, I know what this today, work-life balance, this seems to be a deal. That doesn't mean 50-50. There's a balance there, but you're going to have to give up some in order to do one or the other. So you got to decide.
Well said. Very, very, very. That's coming from a leader right there. So I respect that. And you in going about your building your firm, how is business? How do people find out about you? How getting cases and stuff? How have you gone about getting cases?
Well,
and what's your caseload like right now, monthly?
That's a great question, and it's always changing from the standpoint of 20 years ago, business came from referring attorneys, and to this day, about 63 to 66% of my business comes from personal contacts, whether it's a referring attorney, a former client, a friend, acquaintance, a neighbor. The rest of my business comes from just marketing on SEO and that kind of stuff. it has changed dramatically from the standpoint of the referrals don't come in as much. And I think that has to do a lot with people being more educated because of the internet, of Google and those things. They go out on their own. I know early in my career, if someone referred me, they would hire me, no question about it. Now, I think that even if your doctor or your preacher sends you to someone, the first thing you do is you go Google them, you read the reviews, then you'll go down the rabbit trail of looking at other lawyers and other people. And then you forget, well, who did I start with here? And so you kind of get lost in the noise. And so, while I'm not
that, lost in the noise. That's so true. Oh, that's
it really is. And I don't think you can ignore it because people are finding their lawyers and their restaurants and their doctors and whatever else in life on the internet. And so you've got to be there. You've got to have a heavy presence. And so now I'm really focusing hard on AI. I love AI. I think it is fantastic. I've used it in my practice and developing it. But I think it's very, very important that as a lawyer, and I want to stay relevant and get good cases, I've got to be the lawyer they find when they go, hi, Chat GPT, who's the best lawyer in Fort Worth, Texas for automobile accidents? I want to be one of those that pull up, because it doesn't matter. I mean, this is what's sad. It doesn't matter how good of a lawyer you are. People really aren't going to know that just from a Google search or an AI search.
No.
You hope that once they find you, that the credentials that they see on your website and that they can verify in the reviews will tell them how good you are. But finding you has got to be the first step. And it doesn't matter if you're the best lawyer in the world. They're not going to find you if you don't break through that noise somehow.
Brad, you said something, breaking through the noise, and it goes a lot with being Loudr. Loudr Lawyer Network was done by a group of founders called Loudr Media. And that's Loudr Media are the founders. They go out there and build for attorneys like you, help build their firms, bring in leads and things of that nature. And you said something, without getting lost in the noise, you got to be able to tell that story. And listening to you right now, your story, just your story, being a hippie to sitting there behind a desk with the nice cropped hair to your face and everything speaks volumes, man. Now that's loud noise. That's the noise you want to amplify. Your story is what you want to amplify. And I think that would serve you well in going forward, because like you said, you weren't 66 well, man. You 66, I didn't even know you were 66. I mean, you have that timeless factor, that energy, and that comes from being honest. It comes from being a leader. It becomes you're the person that will go out there and do the work. A leader will take any position to help things grow. And that seems like the type of guy you'll put the hard work in. That's your element. That's your foundation from which you come from.
I like to think so. And it's really not work if you love what you're doing.
Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's an axiom, find something you love to do and you'll never work a day in your life. It really is true.
No, absolutely. When you hear the term Loudr Lawyer, what does Loudr Lawyer mean to you?
Well, I was thinking about that, and Loudr Lawyer to me means it's almost like the old adage, carry a big stick, but speak softly. And it is, you don't have to yell. You don't have to scream. I am a very outgoing, easygoing kind of lawyer and person. And I feel like I'm most effective when I can just talk and just be heard. And sometimes being louder means not making any noise at all, listening, because people seem to understand you better when they know you're listening to them. And so maybe it's like the mentor that I mentioned a minute ago told me one time, stop talking and listen. And when you do that, I think you make a bigger impression and people listen to you more than when you scream or yell or pound the table or just be a jerk.
Yeah.
I guess that's what it means.
Yeah, I love that. I love your definition of that. At Loudr Media, being a Loudr lawyer is pretty much everything that you've done in your career, being involved in the community, giving back, small businesses, that human being approach. Like I asked you, like earlier in our talk, when did you stop becoming a lawyer and just becoming Brad Parker? That's a Loudr lawyer, and that's something that's followed you, and it's all intertwined into your story and your legacy. What do you want people to take from you or remember about you when people talk about you 20, 30 years from now? Because you're going to be in this a long time.
That he did the best he can and he made a difference. I'm not going to change the world. I'm not going to change the laws. I'm not going to change society, but I can make small changes, and they all add up. And every small change is just another way of slowly moving the mountain or the iceberg. And I hope that when people look back at my career, they go, he was a damn good trial lawyer, honest, ethical, and fought tooth and nail for his clients.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Brad, if someone wants to find you, how do they find you?
Well, just go to parkerlawfirm.com and Parker Law Firm, or come have a cup of coffee with me in Fort Worth. We'll sit down, but yeah, parkerlawfirm.com.
Man, it was wonderful talking to you, getting to know you and your firm. And thanks for being on Loudr Lawyer Network.
Thank you very much for having me. I've enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Hold on. Be right back.
Thanks for being a part of the Loudr Lawyer Network. If you're enjoying the conversation, let us know. Give us a like and subscribe to never miss a thing. We'll see you next time right here on the Loudr Lawyer Network.